Namaste, everyone. Thank you for joining in this class on Jyotish Foundation. And we have taken a dive into the predictive part of Vedic astrology. Of course, this is just testing the waters before we take a deep dive. But what happens is we have been looking at the planets, from Sun to Saturn in different signs, and the aspects upon the various planets. Okay, so we have covered from Sun till Venus in the last classes that we have done, and today we'll be looking at Saturn, which is perhaps the easiest planet to overcome when it comes to dealing with all the planets. Okay, so Saturn has a really bad reputation of being being the bad guy out there, but it is not really Saturn, it is actually Mars. Okay, but then anyways, before we begin, let's start with the daily Shanti mantra of the Upanishads. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahano Bhunakatu, Sahaviryankara Vavahai, तेजस्विनादधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति 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 ही
को सुनाई दे रहा है, इसकी वजह से बंद कर दूं क्या?
All right, so let's begin. So Saturn, it gets debiliated in the sign of Aries in Ashwini Nakshatra. Okay, but we are not really looking at the nakshatras. We're just looking at the signs. So if Saturn comes into Aries, it gives a weak body. Okay, the native will be troubled by indulgence in excessive physical labor. And when such a person starts working, they don't really know when to stop or where to stop. So this is a problem because Saturn is the karaka for karmas. And in Mesha, the person will keep on doing karmas, okay, till they exhaust themselves physically. Okay, the person will be ill-tempered, at times deceitful, and will be opposed by his near and dear ones. Okay, such a person can have wicked tendencies, will be unclean in thoughts. Okay, Parashara uses the word unclean, aswacha. Okay, aswacha means unclean in thoughts, not unclean by the body. All right. If Saturn goes into Vrishabha, so Vrishabha is unique in a sense that when Saturn goes into Vrishabha, the person will try to make the most of the opportunities that he or she gets. Okay, it's like being in a job that you hate, but then because the job pays you well, you are still sticking with it. Okay, that is what Saturn in Taurus does to you. Okay, suppose you have a job which you don't really like, but because the job pays you well, pays your bills well, you will try to stick with that job. Okay, so Saturn in Vrishabha can make you attached to elderly women, can make you indulge in alcohols. Okay, in alcoholism, basically the person can be affected by addiction to alcohol. Okay, and will be associated with people who are, let's say, I'll not use the word wicked, but who are sly. All right, and usually these people get attracted to to the wives of others. Okay, that is what Parashara says. Then Saturn in Mithuna or Maithuna, such a person will be tormented by debts, can be deceitful in speech. Okay, because Mithuna is the sign for communication. Okay, it can give an inclination to physical sexual pleasures. All right, and the person can be very lazy as such. Okay, Saturn in Cancer. So this is a big Raj Yoga, okay, because when Saturn goes into Cancer, unless and until it is happening in the 8th house in other signs, Saturn then turns into Yamaraja. Okay, so Yamaraja is the higher form of Saturn. Of course, Hindu mythology says that Yamaraja is the brother of Saturn. But anyways, whenever Saturn goes to Cancer, it's a big Raj Yoga. Okay, and that Cancer, it represents your heart, so it can cause blockages. It can cause blockages in the heart. It can lead to a lack of happiness from the mother. It can keep you poor. It can make you very sick in childhood. but it gives a lot of knowledge. And towards the later part of life, not towards the later part of life, but towards around 36 years of age, it can make you very famous. Okay, then Saturn in the sign of Leo. So this makes you bullied by others. Okay, as a child, you can be really bullied by others, and it can make you quarrelsome. And this gives a sign of deprivation. Mentally you feel deprived of everything. Mentally you feel that people are not for you. You feel abandoned, and it can also mean abandoned by the spouse, abandoned by friends, and such a person will deviate from accepted social norms and will be very miserable internally. Okay, and Saturn in Leo is one of the signs of Cancer. Okay, that is not the only criteria that needs to be evaluated, of course, but Saturn in Leo can lead to feelings of loneliness, feelings of rejection, and that can be a source of cancer in your body. Okay, then Saturn in Virgo, so it makes you very choosy. Okay, it gives you the nature of a eunuch. That is what Parashara says. Okay, nature of a Kinnara. Parashara uses the word Kinnara, but what Kinnara means is that you will not have a fixed opinion. You'll not have a fixed stand on anything. You will blow with the wind. These people usually have a habit of blowing with the wind. Okay, so today they will have some opinion, and then tomorrow, when they see that the majority of the people are going with something else, then it becomes very easy for these people to change their opinions. Okay, and they are good at sculpting things. They are helpful to others, and they receive happiness from progeny towards the later part of life. Okay, Saturn in Libra, it exalts in Libra. Of course, we know that Saturn exalts in Libra, so it makes a person very balanced. Gets a very balanced approach to everything. And Saturn in Libra, of course, is a big Raj Yoga. Okay, it makes the person indulge in sexual pleasures. It makes one a good speaker. Okay, and if you work hard, if you have Saturn in Libra, and if you work hard, then it can give you a status equal to a king in your 40s. Okay, the Saturn in Libra is also seen in in a lot of people who are associated with the entertainment industry, for example in the film industry, in the media industry, because Saturn in Libra, Libra is a sign of Venus, and Saturn there can give you a good income from entertainment and other sources. Okay, then comes Saturn in Scorpio. So this leads to a danger from from cuts and burns. Okay, it can lead to injury from weapon or fire. It can make you conceited. Okay, and such a person is usually very insincere. Okay, and I've seen that before before the age of 36, these people suffer a lot of losses and various forms of physical illness. Okay, Saturn in Scorpio, Vrishchika, is a very hostile Saturn. All right, then comes Saturn in Sagittarius. So this is another good sign for Saturn to be in, because you must remember the principle that Jupiter does bad in Saturn signs, but Saturn actually does good in Jupiterian signs because it expands the significations that are related to that sign. Okay, so Saturn in Sagittarius is a very good, is a very good placement because it makes you very hungry for knowledge. Okay, and you become famous for your knowledge. It gives you content. It makes you content with whatever you learn. All right, and it makes you very content with whatever you learn. Okay, and it makes you well versed in various branches of knowledge, and these people will be you know a personality that goes by the saying of a man of few words. Okay, and they are very honored for whatever they know. Okay, so Saturn in Sagittarius also gives happiness from children, although the person might not want to have children in the first place, because children are represented by Jupiter. Okay, then comes Saturn in Capricorn. So this is the home of Saturn, but I've seen Saturn not doing very well when it sits in the sign of Capricorn, although it gives a lot of happiness and comfort from women. Okay, it makes one it makes one famous after the age of 36, and it can make you courageous. All right. So Saturn is a very timid planet. Okay, because it debilitates in Aries. But when Saturn is in Capricorn, it makes one courageous, and it also makes one devoted to the government. Usually, Saturn is very anti-society. Okay, which are the social planets? Moon and Sun and Jupiter. These are the social planets. So Saturn is very anti-society. But here in Capricorn, because it is Saturn's home, so Saturn feels secured, and that makes it, you know, yeah, I'll that makes it very, very devoted to the government or very pro-government. Okay, I'll come to that during in when we take the questions. Then Saturn in Aquarius, so this can make the person very rich, and it can give you more rewards than you have actually worked. Okay, so Aquarius is the Mula Trikona of Saturn. However, it can give you addiction to prostitutes. Okay, it could be prostitutes, it could be gigolos, and it makes you very irreligious. That means you'll not like to follow dharma. You'd not like to follow the right path. You'll always try to take a crooked path when it comes to achieving certain things. Okay. Again, Saturn does well in the Jupiterian sign of Pisces. So it gives a lot of respect. Okay. The person is usually very helpful to others, will go a long way to help others. Okay. And these people, they, it's very unlike Saturn, but they usually get engaged in religious pursuits and are wealthy. Okay. They acquire wealth as they build on their skills, and, as they build on their knowledge. Okay. These people are very mild mannered, cool tempered, and they are very, they make very good gemnologists. That means if they try to, if they try, then they can acquire a lot of secret knowledge about precious stones and about jewelry. Okay, now let's look at the aspects of Saturn in different signs, right? So Saturn in Aries or Saturn in Scorpio, as I said, Saturn debilitates in Aries, and Saturn becomes very, very hostile in Scorpio. Okay, so Saturn does not do good in Martian signs. But what happens when Saturn is either in Aries or in Scorpio and is aspected by the sun? In that case, the person can be dedicated to agriculture, will be rich. Okay, but not in terms of cash, but in terms of gold. Okay, that is what I've seen. These people, that belong to families which have a lot of gold stored by their grandparents or by their parents, and they have access to that gold. Okay, so that is the way, the aspect of the sun can make them rich. Okay, and these people will be, will be fond of rearing cattle and fond of rearing other animals as well. And in the modern context, it could mean having an animal farm or having a pig farm or maybe having a chicken farm and so on. Okay. Saturn in Aries or Scorpio, aspected by the moon, then such a person will be fickle-minded, will be wicked in their outlook, in their perception, and will be associated with people who have, who are wicked by nature. Okay. So moon always represents company. Okay, moon always represents coming together of people, and these people having, Saturn in Aries or Scorpio aspected by the moon, they will always try to take the company of wicked people. Okay, what if this Saturn in Aries or Scorpio is aspected by Mars? In that case, such a person will have a very wretched mentality, cruel to animals, and could be a gangster, could be a leader of thieves, and would be very, very fond of, would be very, very fond of women and wine. Okay, now Saturn is the butcher. Okay, Saturn is the butcher, Rahu is the vagabond, and Mars is the surgeon. Okay, so you have to know the difference in the profession of all the three grahas. Okay, and Ketu, of course, is the terrorist. So all the four, tamas grahas, they represent ways in which people are harmed, but you have to remember the professions what Parashara assigns to the grahas. Okay, then Saturn in Aries or Scorpio aspected by Mercury. In this case, it can make one quarrelsome, okay, irreligious, a voracious eater, and also someone who is known for lifting things. Okay, you've seen shoplifters, you've seen people who, who go to visit someone and then they lift a few small things and then they bring them home. So it can give that habit of lifting things. Okay, Saturn in the signs of Mars aspected by Jupiter, this can make the person religiously inclined, fortunate, and have a high status get a high status from the government. It can also make one very wealthy after the age of 48. Okay. Then Venus, this gives a very changeable nature, a very malleable nature. Today the person will be someone, and then 3 days later the person can be someone else. Okay, so it could be a radical shift in or a radical change in their personalities. All right, and these people will be ugly. It gives ugliness. It gives ugliness on the face, and can be addicted to sex, can be addicted to prostitutes. Okay, and usually they become destitutes by losing all their money in wines and in addiction to women. Okay, now Saturn in Vrishabha, Saturn in Taurus, or Saturn in Libra. Okay, if it is aspected by the sun, then such a person will lack wealth, but will be learned and have a weak body. That means weak bones, because the sun is the karaka for bones. Okay, if Saturn in Taurus or Libra is aspected by the moon, then such a person will have a high status with the government. That means, the person can have a good government job, will be liked and helped by the female gender, even if it's a female. Okay, so the help will always come from the female gender, and will be fond of good clothes and ornaments. Okay, Saturn in the signs of Venus, aspected by Mars, this can make the person skilled in warfare, kind-hearted, excessive talker, and and rich. Okay, now not rich by money, but rich by landed properties and real estate. Okay, Saturn in the signs of Venus aspected by Mercury. So such people are very witty, and they're keen to please the opposite gender, and will be liked by everyone. Okay, not people pleasing, but they will have a very pleasant personality. Okay, Saturn in the signs of Jupiter. So this makes one very helpful to others, can make one give to charities, and also very, very skilled and very, very religiously inclined. Saturn in the signs of Venus aspected by Venus, then such a person will be liked by the opposite gender, will benefit from the government, and will be very indulgent in wine as well as beautiful women. Okay, or beautiful men if it's a female. All right. Now Saturn in the signs of Mercury. So whenever Saturn goes into the signs of Mercury, you can be almost sure that the person will have some kind of debt. Okay, even if it's a child, you can be rest assured that the parent might be in some kind of a debt, and that debt will not impact the child directly but indirectly. For example, say a 10-year-old has Saturn in Mercury, and the parent is under several loans, and then because of repaying those loans, the child can suffer because his or her wishes might not be fulfilled by his or her parents. Okay, I hope everyone gets that. All right, so Saturn in Gemini or in Virgo aspected by the sun, so this can make a person lose wealth after the age of 28. Okay, so you might belong to a rich family, but then you might make a bad investment and you lose all your money. Okay, and usually these people are religiously inclined, but they have a very and they have a nature which makes them very short tempered. Okay, Saturn in the signs of Mercury aspected by the moon, so this can give status equal to a king. The skin, these people will have very glowing skin and will be loved and respected by women. Okay, even if it is a female, then the love and respect will always come from the female gender, from the feminine gender. Okay, Saturn in the signs of Mars, so this can this can give a very wise personality, a wise perception as such. However, these people usually suffer from some defect of the limb. Okay, and they will be very well known for their knowledge. Okay, these people make very good debaters. All right, Saturn in the signs of Mercury aspected by Mercury, so such a person will be very skilled in dancing. Okay, very skilled in singing, painting, and sculpting as well. Anything that has to do with hands, these people will learn that skill very easily. Okay, these people also make very good race drivers, or or people who indulge in water sports like rowing or kayaking and so on. Okay, then Saturn in the signs of Mercury aspected by Jupiter, so this is another good placement to have. These people are virtuous, they are liked by their friends, and are favored by the government. Saturn in Gemini or in Virgo aspected by Venus. So these people will be, these people will be fond of women. They will be versed in yoga. Okay. Now, yoga does not mean those twitching and turning exercises. Yoga is a whole branch of knowledge that comes from yamas, niyamas, asanas, pratyahara, and everything included. Okay. And these people will be very skillful when it comes to dealing with women. Okay. Now, Saturn in the signs of moon. So Saturn in Cancer, basically, aspected by the sun. So such a person can experience the loss of father at an early age, will be bereft of money, wife, and comforts, and can commit sinful acts for the sake of earning money. Okay. Saturn in Cancer aspected by the moon, then such a person will be wealthy, but can be hurtful to mother and his or her brothers due to speech, by their speech or by their actions. Saturn in the sign of Cancer aspected by Mars. So such a person will usually lack strength. They will be favored by the government, and they would worry. They would have a habit of worrying over very trivial matters. Okay. Saturn in the sign of Cancer aspected by Mercury. So this can give rise to severe nervous issues. It can make one a wanderer, and I've seen people having this combination suffer from vitiligo problems. Okay. Saturn in the sign of Cancer aspected by Jupiter. So it can bring wealth from friends. It can make one have very good friends, friends who are always ready to help the native. And it can also bring a lot of happiness from children, as well as wealth from landed property, as well as real estate, if you look at the modern context of it. Saturn in the sign of Cancer aspected by Venus. So these people, they are usually born in a very good family, but then as they age, some female will be responsible for them losing whatever they have inherited from their family, and that can make them bereft of comforts. Okay, this is a very predictive principle. That is a very important predictive principle that is given by Parashara, but is not really used. Okay. Saturn in the sign of Leo, aspected by the sun. As I said, Saturn in Leo is a combination for feeling rejected, for feeling left alone, for feeling abandoned. And when such a Saturn is aspected by the sun, then the person will be usually without comforts, without money. The person will lack good qualities, can resort to a lot of falsehood, and will be fond of drinking. Okay, can be addicted to drinking as well. Saturn in Leo aspected by the moon. So this aspect can actually save the person, because then the moon blesses the person with fame, wealth, and women, and also brings favors from the government. All right. Saturn in Leo aspected by Mars. This can lead to imprisonment. It can lead to a person being abandoned by friends and family and have a very cruel disposition. Okay. Saturn in Leo aspected by Mercury. Such a person can be deceitful, indolent, poor, as well as ugly. Okay. Saturn in Leo aspected by Jupiter. So this can give leadership qualities, good leadership abilities. The person will be virtuous and will be wealthy as well. All right. Saturn in Leo aspected by Venus. So usually these people will face troubles from women. However, they will be good looking, and they will make money towards the end, towards the last part of their lives. Okay. Now, Saturn in the signs of Jupiter. So Saturn in Sagittarius or Pisces aspected by the sun. So this gives one fame. It can make them fond of others' children. Okay. They will not want to have their own children, but they will be fond of others' children. They will love to play with babies. Okay. And this could mean animal babies as well, not only human babies. Okay. Saturn in the signs of Jupiter aspected by the moon. This can make one deprived of mother, but blessings will come from the wife. Blessings will come from children as well as friends. Okay. Saturn in Sagittarius or Pisces aspected by Mars. So such a person will suffer from vata related illnesses. Okay. And usually these people are forced to leave their home country or homeland at a very young age in search of livelihood. Saturn in Jupiterian signs aspected by Mercury. So this makes one equal to a king, very respectable, rich, and bestows one with good looks. Saturn in the signs of Jupiter aspected by Jupiter. Again, this gives comforts, this gives status. It can make one a leader and very powerful when it comes to knowledge, when it regards to knowledge. Okay. Saturn in the sign of Jupiter aspected by Venus. So this can make one leave their foreign country leave their home country because they don't find support there. So they would try to reside in a foreign land at a very, at a very young age. Okay. And these people are very ambidextrous and they often follow several pursuits at the same time. But if Saturn is in Capricorn or Aquarius aspected by the sun, then such a person will be sickly. The wife will not be good looking, basically. Okay, or the husband will not be good looking. And these people, they will wander from one place to the other in search of that elusive something, but they will not find it. And they will carry a lot of load on their backs. Okay, whether it comes to family or whether it comes to children or whether it comes to, females, whatever. All right, whether it comes to relationships, it'll always seem that they are carrying a lot of load on their backs. Saturn in Capricorn or Aquarius aspected by the moon. So these people will possess wealth, but will be opposed, to their mother, to the perception or to the outlook of their mother, and will be given to sexual excesses. Okay. Saturn in the signs of Capricorn or Aquarius aspected by Mars. So this makes one courageous, powerful, and it makes one have a very cruel disposition as well as a leader, as well as one, it gives one good leadership abilities. Okay. Saturn in the signs of Saturn aspected by Mercury. So this can make one very easily angered. It can make one famous because of their way of talking. But then these people, they will make a lot of money, but they will also lose it easily because of their fickle-mindedness. Okay. Then comes Saturn in the signs of Jupiter. Saturn in Capricorn or Aquarius aspected by Jupiter. So this makes one famous. Okay, it makes one virtuous, long-lived, and healthy, along with a very beautiful and slim body. Okay, Saturn in the signs of Saturn aspected by Venus. So this gives a lot of wealth. The person has a very sensuous. The person has a lot of sensuality about himself or herself, and but will not like to follow social norms. Okay, they are people who who love anarchy, if I could use that word. They will love to follow no norms at all. Okay, now coming to Rahu and Ketu, we will have a separate discussion on the notes. Okay, and this was about the Saptagrahas, that means the 7 planets. And in the next class, we will be looking at the Nabhasa Yogas. Okay, so Nabhasa Yogas, these are planetary combinations that will give an overall view of a person's life pattern irrespective of the dashas. Okay, and of course, Rahu and Ketu are not included in the formation of these yogas, but we will look at 4 major categories of yogas, and under each major category, there will be further divisions, which give a total of 32 yogas. So I'll see how much I can cover. But anyways, that's it from me in this class. There was a question in the chat box. I'll answer that. Saturn conjunction with Mars in Sagittarius Lagna. Okay, so Lagna Saturn is not good. Okay, that is the first thing. Now Mars in Sagittarius is good. All right, Mars in Sagittarius is good because Mars does well in a Jupiter sign, but this is a case of Mangal Yoga. But one thing is for sure, this person will be very, very intelligent. Okay, extremely intelligent, because Saturn conjunct with Mars gives a lot of intelligence. That is something that has to be looked at, and then other aspects and conjunctions will modify the chart. Okay, but in Lagna, Saturn does not do good. The person will see a lot of sorrow in his or her lifetime. Okay, because Saturn is the Dukha Karaka. You'll see a lot of, whoever has this combination will see a lot of sorrow. Okay. Any more question? Saturn in Cancer Lagna with Jupiter as Lagna house as now. Saturn in Cancer Lagna with Jupiter. I think with Jupiter at Lagna, it will be. Or what? Yeah, Saturn Mars, it will make the person very, very intelligent. Okay, but it depends on how the person uses that intelligence. Ruchikaji, I'm not understanding the question. Saturn in Libra Lagna, how will be Saturn Mahadasha? You have to look at the nakshatra. You have to look at all the aspects and everything. Okay, so Saturn Mahadasha is, of course, Saturn Venus will be difficult unless and until Saturn is retrograde or Venus is retrograde. That is the only snapshot prediction you can make. Cancer Lagna, Jupiter plus Saturn. Okay, so Cancer Lagna, Jupiter is exalted. Great. Saturn in Lagna, again, not a very good placement to be in because the person will see a lot of sorrow, as I said. But then Jupiter and Saturn, these, such a person will be very straightforward. They will not lie. They will be very truthful about themselves and whatever they say. So that is a blessing. Saturn and Jupiter, plus these, whenever these planets come together, the person will be very, very inclined towards, towards higher aspects of spirituality. They will not be satisfied with a little bit of spiritual knowledge. They will want to explore more and more as, as the time goes. The heck. Okay. All right then. Thank you so much. I don't think we have questions here more. Saturn in Virgo aspected by Jupiter, Mercury, Mars, and Sun. Okay, so Jupiter, Mercury, Saturn, Mars, Lagna. Yes, you should be not exactly worried, but it depends on how you use the energy. Okay, everything, of course, is energy. All right, everything is energy. So you have to know your patterns where you make mistakes and avoid those mistakes. Okay, Saturn in Virgo aspected by Jupiter, Mercury, Mars, and Sun. So, okay. So it depends on which aspects, what aspect Jupiter is putting on Saturn. If it's the 9th aspect, then, it can give a very traumatic experience. Again, Mars' aspect will not give good results. Mercury's aspect will be good. Okay. And 7th aspect, it means, Jupiter will give good results then. Okay. 7th aspect will be giving good results. Saturn conjunct with Rahu and Moon in the 3rd house. Okay. So what it means is it's a case of a Pitru Badha. Okay, it's a case of Pitru Badha. You need to do remedies for Pitru Badha. Okay, because Saturn conjunct Rahu is Pitru Dosha, and then Saturn combining Moon, there would be a problem with a lot of things. You'll face a lot of, you need to deal with a lot of, you need a lot of emotional fulfillment. There was a lack of emotional fulfillment in your childhood. So you need to have that before you try to deal with this conjunction. Saturn with Sun and Moon in the 11th house. Okay, you must be born very close to Amavasya. So Saturn with Sun, what will happen is, there is a precaution that you need to take. Okay, whenever Saturn sits with Sun, you have to, you have to be very careful about what you say to people regarding your work. Okay, don't brag about things that you don't know. That is a precaution. Again, Saturn with Moon, it leads to a lack of emotional fulfillment. All right. So see what it is, what lack you faced as a child and then try to overcome that lack. But Saturn with Sun, it will give you a lot of wealth after 36 if you're able to, if you're able to survive the energy. Scorpio Lagna, Saturn and Mercury conjunct Jupiter, 7 aspect. Okay. Saturn and Mercury conjunction. Right. So it can make you a Hitler. Okay. People will think that you are a Hitler at work. All right. But Mercury in the 6th is good because it'll, you'll use your brains to come out of a problem rather than your bronze. But Saturn in the 6th house, this is good for, this is good for making money. All right. Saturn plus Sun generally bad in any house. Not exactly. As I said, Saturn plus Sun can give a lot of wealth. Okay. It can give a lot of wealth if you use the energies properly. Sun in the 12th house is not good. Okay. Saturn in the 12th house can give problems in the bed. Okay. Saturn in the 12th house can give problems with the bed. Okay, Saturn Mahadasha is running. Good. Be careful about Saturn Venus then. Okay, because that can be very problematic. All right. All right. So a lot of questions related to Saturn. Thank you so much for joining. I think there are no more questions. Yeah, that will not make a much difference. That will not make a huge difference anyways. Jupiter 7th aspect, it is good, but because it's the 6th house, so that can cause you, that can cause you to fall in debts. Okay, so you have to see which house is getting that aspect as well. All right then. Thank you so much. I will see you next class with the Nabhasa yogas. Namaste. Om Gurave Namaha.